good morning, everybody, and welcome to the August episode of the M365 Government Community Call. My name is Jay Leask, and I have the usual crowd with me. Rima, Jeremy, Sarah, how's everyone doing?
Doing
Fabulous.
awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyone got anything new and exciting before we jump into the episode?
Not this month.
No, I'm thinking. I'm like, no, I got
All
nothing.
All right. Well, then
It's summer in DC. It's
The
hot.
lull.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just like pauses, right? So
It is, although yesterday it dropped down to like 65 degrees, and my wife and I are like, this is weird. It's a nice, like,
Right.
what's the thing, the plants that you put, oh my gosh, the fall, anyway. Like,
You mean
our
trees? Is that what you're trying to say, Jay?
yeah. What is he?
The
Grass?
Things with the
little-
leaves.
the flowering, I want to say mums, but I don't think that's the right word. The flowering plants that all like Home Depot and grocery stores all sell in the fall we have them planted in the front yard, and they're, anyway, this is
Fascinating for us.
welcome to the show, everybody. We have a very exciting episode for you, not about horticulture or my poor use of vocabulary, but in fact, we have a show about the Emergency Teams Operations Center, which I know I've just totally butchered, for Gov. So again, a government-focused show as per usual. In the meantime, let's get started with our community events.
All right, as usual, we just missed the NARA M365 user group, which was August 3rd. They had a great discussion on a new memo that was recently put out, AC 40.2023, where they made clarifications on Teams chat records requirements. So bottom line up front, personal chats are not a record. Teams chats are not a record. Personal chats are a record. That's what it is.
Teams like
channel chats are a record because are not a record because they're collaborative. Personal one-on-one and group chats are a record and they have to be retained.
So that kind of lines up with the fact that like an email is a
That's
record
right.
by assumption.
Same.
Okay.
It's the exact same time period, 7 years, all that stuff. So that was August 3rd. So just be aware, we will post a link. If you are a government individual or have a government account and you can get to max.gov, then come participate. The DC Power Platform User Group, TBD on their meeting for August. They haven't posted anything yet, but we'll post a link to that group so you can go check it out. Same thing for the M365 Meetup for Government. They actually have nothing currently scheduled for August. So just stay tuned. We'll post the links so you can hopefully catch it when it comes available.
Nick Giard, what's happening? Where is our M365 meetup for
They're
Gov?
probably taking like a summer break.
Well, it looks like they're moving to almost an every other month schedule now. So
Okay.
This might be the off month.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll reach out to Nick and figure out what's going on and get back to you all.
August 10th, M365 DC. That's still TBA. July was Nikia Carter and how she started working for Microsoft as an FTE.
Ooh.
And then as her own business as a partner. Next up is Community Days, but I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, we've got Rima and I are both presenting. We're presenting together at a Community Days event, Azure OpenAI and Chat GPT Bootcamp. It's here in DC, in Virginia at the Arlington MTC. It's an all-day event. We're very excited to be talking about Teams Copilot. So some good stuff coming there. On August 16th and 17th, there's the Defense Data Security Summit. So we're in person at the MTC again. So that should be a lot of fun, a lot of security conversations. Focused on defense stuff.
August 17th is the Baltimore SPUG. Again, topic TBA. And July featured Nate Chamberlain, who is an MVP with us.
And then an MVP with us.
Oh, sorry, us. Yes, we are a people.
Microsoft.
With Microsoft, Jay. With us. Yes, I think I'm more than one person.
I'm in a clear mood today.
Hey, it's not my fault. My notes to her did not say with us.
That's all right. Next up, I mentioned this last month with the save the date. This month, I've got the registration page for you. August 29th and 30th, AvePoint, Summit 7, and Microsoft are hosting a Achieving CMMC Compliance in M365 focused on the defense industrial base conference. There's 2 days. The 29th is for the small to medium-sized businesses. The 30th is for the enterprise businesses. And then ultimately, look, you need to decide which one is the right day for you, but come join us either way. It's in person, Arlington, Virginia, MTC. We're really excited, have a great lineup and a really interactive day. It's not just presentation after presentation. And then lastly, jumping into September a little bit, September 6th in Reston, Virginia, AvePoint and Microsoft are coming together to do a session, a summit called Harness the Power of AI with Power Platform in Government. So very excited. We're doing that at the Carasoft offices in Reston. And so we'll get all the registration links in the chat for you, but please come join us. We got through the community.
Yes,
Maybe
events.
isn't there? I think there might be a correction in terms of location.
So
yeah,
for the boot
Rima,
camp,
go ahead since you caught me on it. So
so I found I was like, am I driving to Reston or Arlington? Like so it is actually in Reston in the Microsoft Garage in Reston on Friday, August 11th. So
the which one? The community days, the OpenAI
boot camp.
Okay, the boot camp. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for that. I don't know how I did that. Sarah, why don't you tell us what's going on in the community there?
I will. I'll tell you what's going on with us. Maybe I'll just say that instead. So Azure OpenAI Service achieves FedRAMP High authorization.
Can we just get a clap for that? I mean,
right.
Come on.
Just
Debbie, feel free to put a fake round of applause right over that.
Slow clap, like they do in those 80s movies, but less toxic characters. And also, what? It's true. 16 candles. Come on. And now another big announcement. 2 more big announcements. You can now effectively collaborate cross-cloud with partners spanning commercial, GCC, and GCC High. We are going to have a blog post coming out about it soon. Currently, there is an announcement in the docs right now, but we're putting out more copy for that. And then lastly, the other update is on top of being the community manager for public sector, my kingdom has expanded, my digital kingdom online. And now I am also not only going to stay the community manager for public sector, but I'm going to be the community manager for Copilot. I am actually, and also I'm overseeing M365.
Ooh,
that's awesome!
Congratulations!
Nice.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited for that community as well, because you do amazing stuff in the community. And I'm also very excited for the cross-cloud guest access conversation. That is not as simple as just start adding them. There's still some configuration and such, but I'm excited about the possibility there, especially for organizations like the Defense Industrial Base who are trying to figure out, like, how do we communicate if we do enclaves from GCC High to commercial? How do we communicate? So that's a big deal.
As a sole government person, I will just be a reminder that that's only if your government agency is willing to sign off and allow it.
True.
That's fair.
Thank you for the blockbuster.
Don't just go collaborating like willy-nilly.
More than likely no, depending on where you're at.
Jeremy, your constant legal reminders are really boring. I gotta be honest.
No, it's great.
I'm not a CISO, so I'm not the one who's making the rules. I'm just repeating the rules.
You're just living by them. Got it. Well, this is a great segue to roadmap. So I think that feature alone, so the cloud guest access all the way going into DoD is expected around Q3 of this calendar year. So that's something important to note. So what's that usually like through October, right? So hopefully we can get it before then. We've got another couple of newly rolling out items for GovClouds, which include the Endpoint DLP authorized network share groups as part of Purview. And an update for forms. Who doesn't love forms? I love forms. Users will be able to edit their responses. Thank goodness, because sometimes I make mistakes. Actually, I shouldn't say sometimes, all the time. There are also a lot of new things happening in Teams. I know, again, I'm tunnel vision with Teams.
We know who you are. It's okay.
I know. Sorry, but everybody loves Teams, right? That's what we say to ourselves. Teams Premium for GCC High and DoD is going to start rolling out this month. A bunch of cool features. We've got a previous video podcast, right, about that as well, if you want to dive into that as well. Also, Teams breakout rooms, pre-meeting creation, and participant assignment for DoD also rolling out right now. We also have the Insights report for Microsoft Teams rooms for the Pro Management Portal, which is really cool because the report summarizes issues that you have in Teams rooms, remediation steps, how you can save time, and it proactively alerts your IT group to say, hey, like, here's something that might be happening that could be a problem for your users. And that way people just have a better meeting experience. So just FYI. And then another thing that's rolling out soon that I specifically wanted to call out was Whiteboard. You can start new whiteboards with templates.
Yay.
Let me tell you, these templates are awesome sauce. I use them for product management. I know this is like, I'm very passionate about this. So definitely take a look at those templates. They have templates for anything and everything. They're so cool. I use them all the time. It's really great to whiteboard things live with whoever you're working with, customers, partners, colleagues, whatever. And they have so many different templates. So check them out.
Are there custom template options or just the predefined? Okay.
No, you can make your own too as well.
Okay. So like a consultant who has their own way of doing a Scrum review or whatever, they can build their template and read.
Correct.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I remember during the COVID, how do we all work conversation, I remember talking to a consultant who ran design thinking courses, and they loved using Whiteboard for them, but they had to recreate the whiteboard every single time.
Like painful.
Yeah. So that's huge. Templates and whiteboards is much bigger than it sounds like it's going to be. Yeah.
Across all of GCC, GCI, and DoD was what I saw. So that's awesome. So that's rolling out soon. It's soon. It's not there, but just FYI.
That's a big enough announcement to be a blog article.
Rima.
Oh my gosh, I know. I am a horrible writer. No, yes, Sarah, we will spend time and we will get Rima to have pen to paper because she's got a lot up here, but not a lot's coming out. So I get it. Yeah. I'm with you.
All right.
All right. Let's see if we can turn this into a more serious episode. It'll never happen. I'm very excited to switch this over from the community events to our interview where we have Josh Leporati from Microsoft to talk about the Teams Emergency Operations Center. Josh is the Senior Product Manager for Microsoft 365 Customer Advocacy Group. Which it's one of those conversations where you got to make sure you got the right title, especially come July, August, because you never know how things shift around. But we're super excited because you all released the TEOC, not to be confused with TEOC. You released the TEOC recently, and it's a great example of apps and teams and what you can do with them. Before we jump into that, let's talk about you a little bit, Josh. Welcome to the program. Tell us a little bit about what do you do in the government space and like what's a day in the life of Josh look like?
Sure. Every day is different and fun and unique and crazy. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But, it's super fun for us because we do kind of get to stretch across multiple industries and multiple areas. And one of the ones that I have one of the biggest passions for is in our government public sector space. Our team specifically has a charter around helping to identify feedback trends and where we can go help push and evangelize some unique use cases. Mm-hmm. Some of those are specifically related to the work our team does around open source templates and open source apps. The one we're going to talk about today that we love to call TEOC, Teams Emergency Operations Center, actually came from a lot of feedback in public sector government spaces around, we want to do more. We love this concept of custom apps and teams. Where do we start? Where can we go? And so what we want to do is at least give a blueprint of somewhere to get started and probably a tool that can suffice for most of the needs, but also give the ability to open it up and customize in these areas because we know there's going to be a lot of uniqueness, right, around how folks may want to leverage it or how they want to do with it. And this gives a great starting point for that.
And how did you personally end up supporting the government side of things? Like, I don't know if you started from the get-go or your role evolved to that, but how did you, you know what? We all come from unconventional places, Jay. Okay. You never know.
I heard started from the get-go and I went down the wrong path.
You don't know where he came from. What if Josh was a traveling fiddle player and then decided to turn it around? You don't know. We're going to hear that.
Says the opera singer, right?
Yes.
So, crazy enough, when I was a fiddler back in Pennsylvania, no, totally.
He is the new bard in The Witcher.
The perfect
series on
guest. We
Netflix.
just found the perfect guest.
Right.
So I got lucky. Actually, and uniquely enough, it started kind of with Rima and a connection I made around Rima where I was in a different role at Microsoft. And, us in Microsoft, we like to move around a bit. But got an opportunity to leave my role for a 6-month period and go be in engineering and explore a space that I wasn't directly attached to. Prior in my life at Microsoft and outside of Microsoft, I've been in healthcare, I've been in public sector and education spaces for a bit, but then got this opportunity. So fast forward, jumped on it, went and Rima and I were at what was it? It was EduCon in DC, right? That's where I think that was a conference. Anyway,
that was one of them, and then we did like one of those the tech sessions that like inspire like the tech sort of
That's
Ignite.
right.
Sorry,
That's right.
Ignite DC.
Ignite.
That's what it was. Oh my God.
Yeah, Ignite DC. That was it. And in that role, Sarah, I was kind of around the feedback and the integration and stand up of feedback mechanisms from government customers into how we process and view feedback for our global customer base. So that's how I got the start. And then that kind of morphed and evolved into a little bit more areas that we branched into, like you see with our Scale app solutions that we call these like Teams Emergency Operations Center.
So this might be, you sort of already answered this a little bit, but what was your education path kind of coming into Microsoft, or did you have like a traditional path to getting here, or was it unconventional as well? Like before you started doing healthcare or the CSM work?
Yeah, mine was pretty conventional, at least for the path I took. So I graduated, got a degree in CIS. I actually knew I always wanted to be in technology, and got a good unique break to get into Microsoft and really use my technical skills in the beginning, and it was very lined up. Later on, I went and got an MBA just to pursue the education course and go down that route.
Just for funsies, of course.
Just for funsies. Actually really enjoyed that process much more than my original degree path, just because I took more time and dedication to making connections and such. But it was right. A lot of the knowledge, I guess, the traditional knowledge I got from my CIS degree and initial role responsibilities is not what I use now and today. It's a lot more about community engagement and understanding these high level needs and translation of those into what we can give as use cases. But if I still need to go fix an HP printer, I can still get my hammer and fix it. So
that's the only way to fix
a lot of
an
things
HP
with
printer.
A hammer too, Josh.
Didn't mean to pick on HP printers, any printer.
I worked for
in
HP.
particular.
Listen, sorry.
Well, that's very interesting. I like that I agree with you. I know a lot of people who've gone to college, got their computer science degrees, and myself included, and never really used a lot of what you learn in that degree, because it's whatever the niches you fall into for that day or that week, and then next year we have a different niche. What are some typical obstacles you've kind of run into as you do this work for Microsoft?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of it's the initial out of the gate understanding that you're the expert at whatever the ask is. I can tell you almost definitively that I'm never the expert, and sometimes I may not even know what we're talking about if I'm being transparent. It's having the skills and understanding that I can go assimilate and get that understanding, but the best way to get it is being open and at least to me is being open and transparent about, hey, community, others, help me understand what this ask is and how we can go and be better partners in this space and understand. Because if I go into it with the assumption I know it, we're going to fail immediately because I don't. But that's one of the biggest hurdles is we move so fast, and sometimes we need to take that step and pause and say, all right, let's pause a moment. We don't have to go at 100 miles an hour. Maybe we need to go at 85, but we can at least pause a little bit to get some understanding here.
Right, and this is another interesting question we've started to ask people, but it yields interesting results. What is something people seem to misunderstand about you?
I had so many things. Nobody understands me. I think one of the biggest things, and my friends would attest to this, my family, acquaintance here at Microsoft and external is, there's an assumption that as we do these events and as we portray ourselves to talk about this, I'm going to talk about being extroverted and introverted, right? That there's an assumption that we're all extroverted. And it takes a lot of energy, and that's a wrong assumption that I'm an extroverted type of person or I'm an extrovert. Like, I'm an introvert at heart. I want to go crawl back into my space when this is over and like recoup and rebuild that energy. But it's one of those forcing functions that I do enjoy it and I get energy from it. But if I had to choose the path of least resistance, it would not be being an extrovert, right? It's going to be going and being the silent person. But both of them have their strengths, of course. But a lot of people will come up and assume, and even sometimes you say you're doing this because you love to be in front of people and talk and get that information. I'm like, nah, like I'll sit right back here and write stuff down. You go talk to it all you want.
I think that is like one of the best responses ever, like, or even insights that I've heard. That's so cool and so true, Josh. Oh, this is why you're amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get into the meaty portion of what we're going to talk about, which is the team's Emergency Operations Center, TEOC for short, as we've said it 1,000 times already. So this is an incident response system that seems to be like an app that sits inside of Teams. Why is it important to have this in Teams? Like, what was the reason to even start building this? Because I know it takes resources and money to do this. So just kind of the why.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of inspiration to create this, where we had our own learnings internal at Microsoft about, hey, how are we responding to incidents? How can we get a better kind of clarity point of what's happening? Because, we're using Teams as that collaboration and communication hub already. We're probably deploying stuff and we're having to do it multiple times when we go respond to incidents. Like, we're doing a lot of moving pieces. Can we give a better kind of center of gravity for this experience? And that's where our group tries to take a lot of the feedback to find some of those unique scenarios and build these open source apps to show what we like to say of the art of the possible, right? What could be possible if you look to make a custom app in Teams, and let's take an actual real scenario that we can help solve for, and let's build that and showcase it. So that's the why behind why we wanted to do this. Is we saw the need. We talked with a lot of state agencies around, hey, if we had something like this, what would it look like? What would it help solve for you? And a lot of what we heard was, hey, as we do our incident response, and this is kind of centered around emergency response, doesn't have to be, we can talk about that a bit later too, but as we're doing these responses, man, we're doing a lot of the same things over and over. Sometimes we do them, sometimes we don't. And then how do we keep track with it? So that's the why behind we built TEOC to surface in Teams to be that center of gravity, so that emergency response folks had a place to go to create and respond to incidents, to see where they stand across the board with all their incidents, and to be able to very easily take some defaults that they always want to do, whether it's what we build into it or that we kind of showcase and help them discover of what they could build into it, to say, you do these 15 unique actions every time you want to respond to an incident. Great. Tie that to a default response when you deploy the incident, and we'll make that very easy every time you go pick that incident type to deploy.
I mean, it does bring up the question, you kind of alluded to it, but what other types of incident scenarios could this same solution or type of solution support?
Yeah, no, great question, Jeremy. We have a lot of, thought and discussion around emergency type responses, but we've had similar interest around IT security responses, and even other like general type maintenance responses or non-emergency type responses, where you want to have a workflow to keep in sync the type of response efforts, whether emergency, IT, security incident related, or et cetera, right? Whatever else it may be, but have a home base to know the status of these, to take some automation actions against what's happening within them, and maybe even just to share out reporting around it. So, a lot of the intricacies inside of when you go and set up a team for deployment and the kind of the stuff you're picking from leads a bit more in our terminology in the solution to emergency response. But that is one of the things that we talk about and this is one of the decisions we made to make it open source. You can customize all that. So if you want to go change and have it be more applicable to IT security response, right, you could go and modify those variables and those field names to match that.
Like if Rima has a hair emergency, could I match?
There you
Just joking.
100%.
I'm sure you could.
I would never assume you would have a hair emergency because your hair
Thank
is
you.
always on point.
Thank
All
you.
the more
Correct
reason
answer.
to have a
Right.
system in place in case she does, right?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So like really, if you look at it, this does kind of enhance the strength of teams in that aspect. So it definitely is TEOC, just no gold required.
And that's
That's
a
right,
great point,
Jay.
Sarah. One of the on both points you just brought up there. But one of the founding principles that we want to showcase in TEOC and our other app solutions is the notion of a better together experience. So when you're using TEOC, right, you're finding and seeing the value of deeper collaboration, communication experience in Microsoft Teams, but we're also able to bring in components like Planner and task boards and using List and SharePoint and using SharePoint News. What we want to capture is, right, you've got access to these. You could use them all independently to do a response effort. Through TEOC, we're helping stitch that together to showcase that better together experience so that you have that, connected experience using a list to get ground assessments and fill out details, using a planner board to centralize your task management for incident response, right? There's a lot of cool, fun things that you can do in a better together experience.
Rima and I are doing at the Azure AI bootcamp, we're doing a session on Teams Copilot, and like the first thing we're doing is a reminder that like Teams is meant to be that hub to connect you to all these other things. So I love that you're saying that for TEOC as well. Like the fact that you can connect to all of these other pieces, that's a big part of the reason we develop in this platform. You mentioned you talked to a bunch of state agencies, and I'm certainly not looking to to find out exactly who has things deployed, but what types of customers or agencies would really be looking at the TEOC? Like, is this for anyone? Is this for anyone in particular other than Rima, obviously?
Always for Rima. But no, great question, Jay. So yeah, I mean, a lot of initial focus, and even if I were to gauge, because I usually do on a weekly basis a number of demos to customers on TEOC, and a lot of it is like government, state, local agencies where they're working with either multi kind of county or parish, if you're somewhere that has parishes, agencies, and they're working across those, or they have like a larger footprint, or with a smaller agency trying to combine resources. Those agencies, and then also, we've talked with other industry verticals, so outside of public sector, but other industries like education and healthcare that have looked to use this as well to snap into their own emergency response processes. So, while the circumstances would be a bit different for a government county agency type response where we're dealing with, lots of exterior factors that impact an area that are very, very broad. Even in these other industries, right? It could be local situations that they're dealing with that are inside or internal to what they may be responding to, and looking to say, hey, we're already leveraging Teams and Microsoft 365 for collaboration use and stuff, but we could tie it much better together using something like this.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Rima.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And Jeremy, I know, like, I wasn't sure if you were going to ask anything earlier before, but
ask your thing, Jeremy. Go.
Yeah, go.
Oh, okay. So I was going to ask about data sources. So it is an open source app. So I'm assuming that it's initially built on Dataverse. I know there's weird licensing. I don't actually know all the licensing on how that works when you embed an app in Teams. I think you get Dataverse when you embed it in Teams, but you don't necessarily if it's outside of Teams. Does it support multiple types of data sources in case you want to use something else like a SQL Server or something else?
Yeah, no, great question, Jeremy. And that gives me a platform to talk about some of our choices we made here. So out of the gate, our default solution that we provide is actually not Dataverse based. We have had some customers and organizations look to use that as a data source and use other data sources. So there are some paths where if you want to take our solution, and we love it and fully encourage it and use those, absolutely. We actually specifically use a couple of different things because of these licensing models. So we want to keep it super simple, right? We want you to know that if you are an agency using Microsoft 365, you can go use TEOC without a lot of additional kind of technical side requirements, especially in smaller agencies where you just want to work with the data easily and go use it. So what I mean by that is when we deploy TEOC, it's actually building a SharePoint site and using Microsoft List to keep stuff that we're calling in, like our different role groups and our different incident types. So for a emergency operations center manager, right, if I can go manipulate a list and change some values there, I can pull, and that's what TEOC is pulling in, is those list values. Like, or in the reverse of that, when I go create incidents and I'm starting to do things like, hey, I've made 7 hurricane incidents and X number of other incident types, and I want to report or do some automation on that, we write all that to a list too, so that we can then kind of plug into that Microsoft List natural connection into Power Automate actions or Power BI actions to do reporting. So we don't require it, but if the licensing and if the organization has that, that's a great place to go and say, hey, I could very easily, right, take a Microsoft List and kind of pipe that into a Power BI reporting, get some situational awareness reporting about where I stand with incidents, or do some Power Automate actions against when my status has changed or when stuff comes into it. Let me take some cool actions in List. It's a great opportunity too to showcase the power of what's possible in Microsoft List by using a solution that's leveraging that just for that show and tell moment.
All right. Well, there's a beer in your future just because you did it that way.
Right.
I am ecstatic because I am a huge proponent of using lists for data set for really, lightweight applications like this, and you don't have to worry about some strong typed database structure behind the scenes.
Yeah. Look, Dataverse has a lot of benefits to it, but it's not always the right solution. So yeah, that's awesome.
Excited.
Sarah, I think you're up. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I thought it was Rima.
Next.
Oh, Rima's up. I'm
think
done. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Jeez.
We take turns asking questions because
we're not the same person, Jay.
I know, it's not like you're Sarah. No. I'm sorry.
I know. Okay, so this might be a very short answer, Josh, but does the TEOC solution enable external collaboration with partners and vendors? So if you're managing an incident where you have to work with other parties involved, does it allow that?
Sure, yeah. So it depends. We built in to the application through customer feedback the ability to invite those guest users into the response for that team, because that was seen as an inflection point of, let me reduce the time it takes for me to create this response and invite those external participants I need. So in the creation process, we actually added in our latest update, an area for guest users so that you can add them right in. Now, there is an asterisk on that. We do that, and if the tenant policies allow those guest users brought in, great. If the tenant policy doesn't allow it, we still create the incident. We just give you a message saying, hey, you couldn't add guest users here. So we have a lot of feedback where, Rima, that's a very encouraged scenario where they are wanting to work with external partners and bring them in for the response efforts. And that's why we added that section into that part.
Awesome. Thank you.
What can TEOC, I'm always just going to think of the person from Stargate, but I think that's not necessarily a bad association to make, but what can it integrate with across the network? Like Snow comes to mind, or like what other things can it fully integrate with?
Sure. And this kind of goes back to one of our decisions too on, and Jay and Jeremy, y'all called it out great. We do want to take a lightweight approach to this because we want to showcase that list integration. So for us, TEOC is not an integration point outside of itself. So there's no connections that we're going to send data elsewhere other than Microsoft List. Same way of coming into it, right? It's just Microsoft List. Now, we have had some organizations explore that automation of exporting out of the list and connecting into other places, but that's the source. Because out of the box, we don't do direct integrations, right? It's kind of looked at as a TEOC in itself is just the enclosed solution. And then if you want to connect or you want to pipe that data out from TEOC, it would be from the Microsoft List that we're writing to.
Our Automate, right?
Interesting.
Our Automate premium connectors. Get that extra license.
Jeremy's on a path today.
Oh no, I'm actually excited because I finally work at an agency that bought those extra licenses, so I can use it.
Yep. So Josh, out of curiosity, like what's on the roadmap? You created a tool, you've You've got some people you've talked to about using it. You've got some deployments of it. What's coming next?
Yeah, no, we got some exciting things in line. So the biggest thing, and I want to caveat it for the audience here too, or not caveat it, but bring it to attention, is all of the work we do is coming in and based off of customer feedback, right? So when you deploy the solution, we actually have a button in the top right that goes out to where you can send feedback in. It is an open source solution, so a lot of that does come in through GitHub too. So just some plugs that when you look at the solution, and the number one thing for us is to hear from organizations, hey, what would make this better? What would improve this? So with that plug, we do have some things inbound here shortly in our future updates and in the roadmap. A couple of things that I can talk about right now that are inbound pretty quickly. One is around the dashboard that we currently have. So the dashboard has a couple of stages for the incidents, and we look at open, pending, and closed. A lot of organizations have different life cycles they want to incorporate into that. So one of our next updates will be the ability to customize that dashboard and those different statuses based on whatever life cycle statuses you may be in. Now, the cool thing that we want to showcase with that is we can do that, again, leveraging a list data population of the type of statuses and bring that into the dashboard, which is the clear difference between the current way you do that, which is a code modification. So we know there's some balance with our solution being open source that, you could do anything and everything, but you may not want to do anything and everything by opening and modifying the code. So we're going to bring that into the element where you can go customize that in the list and in the UI. Another big ask that we're working on is the ability to give TEOC out to kind of siloed departments. So the scenario here would be I deploy TEOC once for my organization, and let's talk about like a city agency. Maybe I want fire to have their own instance, police to have their own instance, and et cetera. But I want to maintain it in one global TEOC environment. We're working on role distribution where you'll be able to do that. So you can say, hey, fire, you have a role, police, you have a role, and y'all can only see your incidents, but then we have a broader global role that can see y'all. Today you would deploy the solution multiple times to achieve that. Tomorrow, not literally tomorrow, but sometime tomorrow in the future, we'll have those siloed kind of roles that you can give out and customize.
That's cool.
Wow. So this is cool. It's open source. That it's available for people to leverage. Where do they go to get it?
Yeah, great place, perfect place, single place. aka.ms, WAC M365 TEOC.
Ooh.
All right. And we'll make
That's a
sure we
good
paste
link.
that in the chat.
What-
Sarah's going to
what-
use that link all the time so she can think of Stargate all the time.
I can. Look, listen, like sometimes you wish that you could have a Stargate solution for a lot of things in life, and now we have one essentially for Teams.
I don't think I think that same way, but that's interesting. Okay, sorry.
You don't wish that you could just like Stargate to like the nearest like grocery store or whatnot, like just kind of like come out of a portal instead of having to drive your car? No.
God,
have to
some
talk
poor
later.
family would be like standing in front of this, trying to like walk up the ramp, and you'd like whoosh, and they get wiped out by the wave of the portal opening. And no, that'd be a terrible transportation mechanism for regular travel. Not that I thought through this. Listen, to get this off of me and back on Josh. Josh, this has been an amazing conversation. Tell us, for people who want to find more about you and that amazing beard, where can they find you?
Mm-hmm.
So Jay, I'll follow your beard blog to figure out how to get this
Oh.
volume
Yeah.
and
What?
consistency. So I'll just let you link to that if you like.
Oh, no. Jay's beer blog.
Josh's beard is
What is
long now
happening?
because it's full of secrets.
Best
what
place
is-
LinkedIn. That's really my only
Secrets.
presence place, but
Okay.
absolutely there. And in fact, on my LinkedIn profile image, I don't have a beard.
I'm
I didn't
aware.
shave yesterday, so this is what happened.
Mm.
Wow.
That'll happen. Yeah.
Just one day. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Looks
Well,
great
listen, Josh, I appreciate you joining us for this incredibly unorthodox day. Rima, Sarah, I almost did it. Rima, Sarah, Jeremy, do you guys have any follow-up questions for Josh before we wrap up for the day?
No, very excited, and thank you to the team that put this together.
I just want to say, Josh, it's been a pleasure knowing you. Like, since I've gotten to know you, you're a wonderful individual. You're incredibly smart and talented. So I'm so glad that more and other people got to see who you are, hopefully through this video. So
Yeah, same, echoing Rima. I know you're an amazing individual. I remember when we first worked together on a government AMA. What was that, like a year or so ago? You were there, Rima. I think it was Gov for Teams AMA. So, and yeah, and now we're working together a lot. So it's been an amazing journey with both you and your beard, and I hope to have many more.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure and best part of my day being on this. So,
oh, thanks.
Aw.
Thank
Well,
you.
to wrap us up, massive props to Josh. If you want to connect with him, check him out on LinkedIn. Of course, we're all on LinkedIn. If you want to subscribe to this show, where we've got LinkedIn, we're part of the AvePoint LinkedIn channel. We're also part of the AvePoint YouTube. And then if you're curious about what's coming up next, we have episodes coming up on AI for Gov, which I'm very excited about. We have our annual Women in Tech panel will be coming up in December. Based on some of today's conversation, I'm thinking it might make sense to do something on external collaboration again, with some major changes that we've been talking about. So keep your eyes open, ears open. If you've got something of particular interest you want us to talk about, you know how to reach out to us. Let us know what you'd like to hear. In the meantime, have a great August, and we'll see you in September.